Welcome to this GiftWorks 2011 video. My name is Jonathan Lehman, and this is the first video in a two-part video series on the improved receipting of donations in GiftWorks 2011. GiftWorks has always made it simple to issue a single receipt for each donation. However, not every nonprofit issues gift receipts in the same way. Some differences may be based on different standard practices, while others may be based on legal requirements. It's because of these differences that we made changes to GiftWorks that give you many more choices and provide the flexibility that you need. In this video, I will review the improvements in determining which donors get receipts and when and how receipts are issued. I will also show the ability to issue consolidated receipts for a donor that include more than one donation. So let's get started by signing into GiftWorks. Now, as I said, GiftWorks 2011 gives you a lot more control in determining who gets receipts and when and how you issue receipts. One of the things you'll notice, if you go to the mailing section, go to Manage Mailing List, that there is no longer a donation receipts mailing list. That used to show here. Instead, whenever you add or edit or import a donation, you indicate whether or not you want to issue a receipt for that donation. So let me show you. I'll go to a donation here, and I'll just bring up a donation, and you'll see that one of the choices for a donation, you have two choices for a donation now, whether you want to issue a receipt for that donation, and also what receipt group you want to be part of. That gives me an opportunity to talk about a powerful new feature that we've introduced called receipt groups. Receipt groups can be managed in the settings area, and I'll show you that in a bit. Receipt groups provide a method of printing receipts separately for different types of donations and can be customized according to your needs. So receipt groups provide a way of segmenting your donations to be receipted. For instance, you might set up a receipt group called year-end receipts to identify donations that should not be receipted until the end of the year. So let's go to the settings area. I could either click on customize and change field values, or just click change field values here. This is my list of GiftWorks fields. You'll see that there's a new one called receipt groups. I can double click on that, and you'll see my list of receipt groups. The default receipt groups for a new database are the receipts group, which is one that it's always there by default and cannot be removed, and the year-end receipts. However, you can set up as many groups as you want or need, and so you can add new ones here, you can edit these, you can remove these, you can sort this, just like any other GiftWorks field. Now, what makes all this even more powerful is that you can define defaults or preferences within GiftWorks. And you can define them at different levels within GiftWorks, such as at the organizational level, donor level, and so forth. And I'm going to show you that right now. Let's go to the settings area. And I can either click on customize here. I can click on change field defaults here, or click on customize and go to change default values. You'll see that we have new default values that we added for inside the donor field section called issue receipts, which is a checkbox, or receipt group, which is my list of receipt groups. So what I'm specifying here is that when I add a new donor within GiftWorks, what do I want the default preferences for that donor to be? For this donor, do I want to, by default, issue receipts for this donor? And what receipt group should I issue those receipts as part of? So these are the preferences that you would have at an organizational level whenever you add a new donor. So in this case, I'll leave this where by default, when I add a new donor, I'll issue receipts, and they'll be part of the generic receipts receipt group. So let me show you how that works. I'll add a donor, and I'm going to add a donor called John. No receipt. I'm going to just go through the rest of these dialog screens pretty quickly. And when I get to add more details for this donor, you'll see when down here in this development details section, it defaulted to that this donor's preferences will be to issue receipts as part of the receipt group receipts. I'm going to say for this particular instance, John, no receipt. We don't want to by default issue receipts for John. So I'm going to go ahead and save that preference for John. And I want to show you that I've already set up another donor called Jill year-end receipt. And if we looked at Jill's preferences, you'll see her preferences are to issue that we would issue receipts for Jill as part of the year-end receipt group. So let me show you how this works. I'll go to the donors again, and for John, no receipt. I'm going to add a donation of $500. I'm going to go through the donation dialog screens. On the last screen, my acknowledgement, where the acknowledgement information is. Now, in addition to that, now we have a receipt information section which you can see that there's a checkbox for issue receipt and also a receipt group. In this case, it defaulted to not issuing receipt for this donation because that was John No Receipts preference. I could change that at this point if I wanted to and override that and pick a receipt group, but in this case I'm going to just leave the defaults the way they were and go ahead and save that. So you can see how that his choices were defaulted when I added donation. Let me go to Jill year-end receipt, and let me show you also how this works with pledges. So remember that Jill's defaults were to issue receipts and to be part of the year-end receipts group. And so I'm going to add a pledge for Jill for $500. And when I get to the final page where I can make my final pledge choices, you'll see that one of the choices there again are whether I want to issue receipts for the pledge payments for this pledge and as part of what receipt group. And these choices here defaulted on Jill's preferences. So you can see her preferences were to issue receipts for each pledge payment and part of the receipt group year-end receipts. And I can change that again at this point if I want. In this case, I'll just leave those defaults from Jill. So when I apply a payment, go through the apply payment screen. When I get to the last one, again, on my acknowledgement receipt options dialog page, I have the issue receipt checkbox and the receipt group. And again, now this defaulted, since this is part of a pledge, it defaulted on the preferences for this pledge, which originally defaulted on the preferences for Jill. So at any one of those steps, though, I can choose to override those choices. So in this case, again, I'm going to just take the default and click Next and save that. And so you can see how we have a lot of flexibility in choosing what the preferences are at an organizational level, what they are for a donor, what they are for a pledge. But ultimately, when you receive that money, when you receive the pledge payment or the donation, you can make your final choice as to whether or not to issue a receipt for this pledge payment or donation and what group that should be part of. Let me show you how this comes together when we go ahead to print receipts. We still have our option, donation receipts, as we did in prior versions of GiftWorks. So I can click on that. The thing that you'll notice that's different is it brings up a dialog that gives me a choice of picking a receipt group. So I can segment my receipts, and I can choose which receipts I want to print at this time. So I could, for instance, choose my year-end receipts. I can also pick a date range. So I could choose that I want to print all those donation receipts that are scheduled to be receipted that are part of my year-end receipts group and that the donation came in this year. I can go ahead and click Next. And I go into my receipt mailing process. One of the other important things to note is in prior versions of GiftWorks, you could only send one receipt per donation. You could not have more than one donation on a receipt. Now we have a new option called one receipt per donor. So you can actually choose that option, and if there are more than one donation for a donor within this receipt mailing, they will be consolidated onto one receipt. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. And I'm going to just check Jill year-end and Amy McBroom have several receipts. And we'll go ahead and click Next. And one of the things I want to show you, we'll just go ahead and click Next so I can show you what this looks like. If I preview this, you'll see that in my receipt that here's Jill. There's 2 donations that will be on that receipt. And same for Amy. But in case that there's only one donation, that works also. But one of the things we want, the flexibility that we wanted to add, because now you'll be wanting to issue receipts. In many cases, for many of our organizations that use GiftWorks, we want to issue multiple donations on a receipt. We wanted to give some more flexibility in how you can customize that list of donations, that donation table. So we'll click OK here. I'll go back. In a prior version of GiftWorks, we've already given you the ability to customize your donation table, but we've enhanced that even a bit more. So here's my customized donation table. I can right-click on it and edit it. The 2 things we added for GiftWorks 2011, the first thing is we added more columns that are available for your donation tables. Things such as check date and check number and credit card and so forth, and description, payment description, things like that. So we added some more information that's available, including receipted and unreceipted amount. So there's more options available as to what columns to include in your table, but we also added another feature where I can double click on a column here. I can actually change the column heading. So maybe I want it to, for my purposes, I need it to say something different. So in this case, I could say payment date, and I can also, now that I have more flexibility in choosing what columns to include, I may want to control the width of this column so that it looks nice on my receipt. So in this case, I'm going to increase the width of the column a bit. Click OK. Click OK. So I'm going to go ahead and Click next, and now you'll preview that. You'll see that it now shows payment date. The column's a little wider. I can click OK. I'm going to go ahead and generate the mailing. Click next, and I'll finish my mailing. So they would have all been assigned receipt numbers. So you can see I can go back to my donor. I can look at Jill year-end receipt, and I can click on her donations and bring up one of these gifts. And you'll see, as I did before, I have my view receipt link, and it shows me the receipt number. And if I view that receipt, you'll see that it can actually show me both of the donations that were on that receipt. So we hope you enjoyed this video, and it shows you some of the flexibility that we've added. And we encourage you to watch the second video that's part of this video series. Thank you for watching.